Today Liverpool take on Wolves. Wolves come out in somewhat of a 4-3-3, which transforms into a 4-4-2 at times. They go to a back five, go back to a flat 4-4-2, and this. Today Liverpool take on Wolves. Wolves come out in a 4-3-3, which throughout the match transforms into a flat 4-4-2, into a 5-4-1, into a 5-4-2 with a center forward dropping off. So there's a lot of movement and fluidity based on the rotation, and more importantly, the reason for this fluidity is due to the fact of going down a goal and then a second, a third, and a fourth and trying to find a way to get into the match, because Wolves really couldn't find a strong foothold in the match which they could maintain for a consistent period of time. So what we start out with is that we saw that Wijnaldum was starting in a deeper position, and this could be due to the fact that Klopp wants to utilize Henderson to provide cover for Nico Williams on this side, but there just wasn't as much penetration against Wolves when we had Henderson here. And then in about the 30th minute, Henderson moves into the 6, Wijnaldum pushes up higher, and then that's when we start to gain our own foothold and play higher up the pitch against Wolves and dictate the play. What we would see when Liverpool would attack is that Wolves in Nuno Espirito Santo allowed Traore to stay higher, and when that would happen, we would be getting more players into the positions that we like to find them up the pitch, and he would either be late to track Nico Williams back, or earlier in the match be late to track Robertson back. So that time, by the time that the ball would get to him, he would be on the wrong shoulder and be out of position. As he grew into the match, he started to recover back sooner, and what you would see happen is there would be a back five for Wolves, because Robertson knew that he was being man-marked. So he would push up higher, push them into a back four, and by going into that position there's your 5 midfielders into here. Into this 5-4-1, it allowed time and space for the center back to pick out passes consistent throughout the match. Whether that was into the midfielders to pick up and find into here, or looking out into the fullbacks, and we're looking to build our wide triangles. Now on the opposite side, when Wolves were in possession themselves, they couldn't find their key players consistently, and it wasn't clear as to why this was. Maybe it's because of Traore's defensive responsibilities. They're saying that he needed to come back and track Robertson, and in doing so, it took away from his ability to attack them at space, which obviously is his key strengths. Can he get at that back line in a 1v1? But when they did have the ball and they pushed it higher up the pitch, they would leave themselves extremely vulnerable. The wingbacks would be pushing into the wide area here. You'd have your wide forwards dropping into the gap, and you'd have your midfielders positioned about here, usually about 2 midfielders and then one pushing a little bit higher. But when you leave this much space against Salah and Mane in the wide areas, and with Firmino having the ability to drop and link up play, you're only asking for danger. You're playing with fire. And that's what they did, and that's what led to the goals that they gave up. Although they were playing in a back four, they were acting as if it was a back five. Because if this was a back five, let's say they play 3 here, and then they wing backs out, you can leave that and you still have the space covered more or less. But when you play with this and you push both wing backs or fullbacks, whichever you prefer to call them, you push them up, leaving this space and that space, you need to pull a midfielder back at least into here so they can cover that in behind, or pull back in the opposite fullback so we can go here, and the last one being drop in a holding midfielder, which would be like building with a back three. So For all of the goals that Liverpool scored, Wolves did have moments which they could create chances, and they had a couple threatening moments, but there was, again, no consistent foothold in the match. And this is due, in my opinion, due to the counter-attack space that they left in behind, a rotation here, putting Henderson again at the 6, where I think that's where he probably could consistently play throughout his matches due to the cover he provides, as well as his ability to dictate play, and Wolves' inability to get the best out of their attacking players. So this was a match that previously has been hardly fought. So previously this has been a match that has been a hard-fought match between both teams, but in this one it was very one-sided. Liverpool coming away 4-0.